Michael Pryor, The Future of Strategy. This section looks at the overall strategic development model for the future. The world is changing rapidly. You have geopolitical risk increasing, internet and technology affecting all industries. On a negative basis, industries can be wiped out of existence. On the positive side, there's an increased number of opportunities for growth. You cannot predict the future in a linear fashion anymore. You cannot predict it based on now or the past, and you cannot extrapolate where it's going to be in the future. So you need to draw inspiration from the future. Don't extrapolate the current out based on numbers. Look at the future trends as vague and emerging concepts and ideas. So what will these emerging trends mean for you, the industry, and your clients? You need to change your perspective. Look at the long-term trends of 10 or 15 years. Take a more futuristic approach. This model is very vague and not quantitative at all. Talk to lots of outside sources, even those who have got nothing to do with your industry. Look outside your industry. Get a full holistic view of the world. With your people and sources, try to make sense of these trends. Use scenarios and options to determine what could affect you or your industry. Operate an annual future workshop with as many people as possible. Be organizationally inclusive. Try as early as possible to involve as much of the organization as possible in the strategy. Get a diverse input into your strategy. Social media platforms can help with this process. This will minimize disruption and help get buy-in throughout the whole organization. So the requirements for the future. Run current strategy and reinvent strategy at the same time. Understand, embrace, and integrate new technologies. Have a global view of your industry and your business. Increase transparency. Strategy, leadership, implementation can't be separated, and managers need to deal with them together. Creativity and technology will become more important to an organization's success. So how is creativity going to drive your business or your brand in the future? How is creativity going to increase consumer connectivity to your firm's brand? You need to develop the ability to link new marketing technologies together and develop the ability to talk to your customers one-to-one. So adaptive strategy. What is necessary today is a strategy that breaks free of static plans to be adaptive and directive. This strategy emphasizes learning and control, and that reclaims the value of strategic thinking for the world that now surrounds us. Adaptive strategy involves creating strategies that are truly adaptive. This requires that we give up on our many long-held assumptions. As the complexity of our physical and social systems make the world more unpredictable, we have to abandon our focus on predictions and shift into a rapid prototyping and experimentation so that we learn quickly about what actually works. With data now everywhere, we have to give up our claim to expertise in data collection and move into pattern connection so that we know what data is worth our attention. Adaptive strategy. We need to find ways to delegate authority, get information directly from the front lines, and make decisions based on real-time understanding of what's happening on the ground. Instead of the old approach of making a plan and sticking to it, which led to centralized strategic planning around fixed time horizons, firms need to be setting a direction and testing it, treating the whole organization as a team that is experimenting its way to success. So adaptive strategy, in terms of the classic strategy and adaptive. The classic strategy is all about predictions, data collections, and top-down execution, whereas adaptive strategy is about experimentation, pattern recognition, and execution by the whole of the organization. So you need to envision a range of futures. In uncertainty, both the strategy process and the strategy itself need to change. The most effective leadership teams focus on the vital few uncertainties that matter. Understand the possible scenarios that could develop and identify the critical trigger points that signal a swing to one scenario or another. We call these signposts. This leads to a clear and actionable portfolio of strategic actions that balance commitment with flexibility. The process shifts an exercise defined by conditions at a discrete point of time to a cycle of execute, monitor, and adapt, redirecting the company towards the best opportunities over time. So you need to proactively prepare the company for a range of futures. Companies that mobilize quickly around the right choices aren't somehow better at predicting the future. It just seems that way. That's because leadership has proactively prepared the company for a range of futures. So how do we proactively prepare a company for a range of futures? You need to define which uncertainties the company faces and cut through the noise by separating them into those that matter and those that don't. Create a set of probable scenarios for how the future might unfold and discuss the threats and opportunities that these scenarios present. Devise a specific set of strategic options that balance commitment to a course of action with the flexibility to adjust and thrive amidst the different future scenarios. And finally, identify a clear set of signposts that will signal important changes in the marketplace and trigger a set of actions already foreseen during the scenario planning process. So the company needs to prepare for a range of futures. It's about creating a coherent set of scenarios across all critical variables in an analytically rigorous fashion. That helps leadership teams address a number of key questions. First, what are the most likely possible scenarios to emerge from the major uncertainties the company faces, and what should it look like to thrive in each one? Secondly, how could the world evolve in the way that could disrupt current strategy and correct new opportunities? And third, how can companies act quickly depending on which possible future unfolds? So the organization proactively is preparing for the future. If the world is evolving towards scenario X, the company has already preempted scenario X and laid down plans to roll out strategy Y. They're one step ahead. Rather than adopting a wait-and-see approach to planning and investment, leadership is aligned and pre-committed to take specific action under different circumstances. The goal of strategic leadership is to monitor change on a regular basis and move ahead of competitors as future states begin to take shape. So your final question is, do you and your organization have plans and processes in place for scenario planning and experimentation to prepare for future change?